Houston, Texas, late September 2021. The air smelled of mesquite smoke and money. The annual McAllister Energy Barbecue was the biggest private party in the state. 2,000 guests, whole steers spinning on spits the size of pickup trucks, a country superstar flown in from Nashville, and enough Stetsons and diamonds to blind God himself. Delaney Ray McAllister, 30, auburn-haired, boots-hand, tooled in Italy, stood beside her husband Beau on the grand staircase of the ranch house and tried to smile while the photographer from Texas Monthly snapped away. Beau's arm was around her waist, but it felt like a prop, because tonight was the night he was finally going to do it. She had known for weeks the whispers from the housekeepers, the way Beau's mama, Virginia Ginny McAllister, had started calling her poor child, in that syrupy drawl that could cut glass. The sudden flurry of late-night phone calls with the family lawyer, 7 failed rounds of IVF, 7 years of marriage. 7 years of Ginny's not-so-subtle reminders that the McAllister bloodline don't run through daughters-in-law who can't deliver. Tonight, after the fireworks and the last toast, Beau was going to hand her divorce papers and a one-way ticket out of the only life she had ever wanted. At 10:47 p.m., while Tyler Childers sang Shake the Frost, Beau leaned in close enough for only her to hear. "I'm sorry, Lainey, Mama says it's time." He pressed the thick cream envelope into her hand like it was a check for the caterers. Inside, divorce petition, a non-disclosure agreement, and a cashier's check for $5 million. More than generous, Ginny had bragged to her bridge club. $5 million to disappear. $5 million to never speak of the McAllister name again. $5 million to pretend the last 7 years had been a dream. Delaney looked out over the sea of cowboy hats and champagne flutes, over the rigs twinkling like Christmas trees on the horizon, over the empire her tears and hopes had helped build. Then she looked at Beau, handsome, weak mama's boy Beau, and said the only thing that felt honest, "Y'all are gonna miss me when I'm gone." 2 hours later, she was on the road north in her white Bronco with nothing but 3 suitcases, her mama's Bible, and the bottle of Pappy Van Winkle she stole from Beau's study. She didn't cry until she crossed the Oklahoma state line. Then she cried so hard she had to pull over outside Wichita Falls and throw up beside a Love's truck stop. When the sun came up, Delaney Ray McAllister was officially nobody, but nobody, she decided, was a real good place to start. December 2021, a cabin outside Broken Bow, Oklahoma. Delaney found out she was pregnant on the cheapest stick Dollar General sold. She sat on the toilet of a rented cedar cabin, snow falling soft outside the frosted window, and stared at 2 pink lines so dark they looked like they were shouting. After 7 years of negative tests, the universe had waited until the exact moment her marriage exploded to give her everything she ever wanted. Twins, the doctor in Idaho confirmed it at 8 weeks, 2 heartbeats, strong as Texas thunder. Delaney laughed until she cried again, this time in a Walmart parking lot, because of course the Lord had a sense of humor meaner than Ginny McAllister on Derby Day. She named them before she ever saw their faces, Wyatt James and Waylon Jude, double trouble with her daddy's eyes and her fight. For 9 months she hid, no social media, no Houston OBGYN who might talk, cash only, a fake last name on the hospital bracelet, Mrs. Ray Carter. On August 17, 2022, in a small hospital in McAllister, Oklahoma, she pushed out 2 perfect boys who looked so much like Beau at age 5 it stole her breath. She held them to her chest, kissed their damp heads, and made them a promise against their tiny ears. "They will never break you the way they broke me." Then she did the hardest thing she'd ever done. She walked away from everything she knew and built a wall 10 miles high. 2023-2025, somewhere in the Texas Hill Country, Delaney Ray became just Lainey Carter, a single mama and silent partner in a private equity firm nobody had ever heard of, J-Bar Holdings, LLC. She worked from a laptop in a 2-bedroom rental outside Fredericksburg while the twins napped. She learned to read SEC filings the way other women read romance novels. She studied oil futures, land leases, royalty statements. And every quarter, when the child support Bo never knew he was paying because the court in Oklahoma never found him ran out, she took the money she'd earned trading mineral rights and bought more shares of McAllister Energy quietly through a dozen LLC registered in Delaware and the Caymans. Always under 5%, so she never tripped disclosure rules. By the time Wyatt and Whalen were blowing out 3 candles on a Whatever purchased sheet cake, J-Bar Holdings owned 4% of McAllister Energy. Delaney was the majority shareholder of the company that had thrown her away like trash, and nobody knew. Not the board, not the bankers, not Ginny McAllister, who spent her days bragging to the Houston Chronicle about how her son had finally found a proper wife who could give him a real family. Because Bo had remarried 6 months after the divorce. Her name was Tiffany Taylor with a hyphen, 25, former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, and according to every society page from Dallas to Corpus Christi, 6 months pregnant with the McAllister heir on the way. Delaney saw the announcement on Instagram and laughed so hard she scared the dog, because she knew Bo's sperm count better than he did. And she knew Tiffany Taylor's bump looked suspiciously symmetrical for a woman supposedly due any day. September 13, 2025, the 75th Annual McAllister Energy Barbecue, same ranch, bigger party, same band, this time it was Parker McCollum. The only thing different was the woman in the black resistal hat and turquoise squash blossom necklace standing at the edge of the crowd holding 2 dark-haired little boys by the hand. Delaney had cut her hair short and sun-bleached. She wore no makeup, just freckles and fury. Wyatt and Waylon, 3 years old going on 30, wore tiny Wranglers and boots with spurs that actually jingled. People stared, whispers rippled like heat off asphalt. Isn't that? No, can't be. Lord, those babies look just like Bo when he was little. Ginny spotted her first. The old woman was holding court near the mechanical bull in a cream scent, John suit, and a triple strand of pearls big enough to anchor an oil tanker. When she saw Delaney, her martini glass stopped halfway to her lips. Delaney smiled the slow, sweet smile of a woman who had absolutely nothing left to lose. Even in Miss Ginny, Ginny recovered fast, too fast. Well, I declare, if it isn't the ghost of Christmas past, she turned to the circle of women around her. Y'all remember Bo's little experiment. The women tittered behind manicured hands. Delaney didn't flinch. I just came to return something that belongs to the family. She reached into her tote and pulled out the original divorce envelope, the one with the $5 million check still inside, uncashed. She handed it to Ginny like it was junk mail. Interest has been real kind, Delaney said. Figured y'all could use it for the legal bills. Ginny's eyes narrowed to slits. What in the hell are you playing at, girl? Before Delaney could answer, Bo appeared, taller than she remembered, tanned, arm possessively around a very pregnant Tiffany, Taylor in a white lace dress that screamed maternity photo shoot. His mouth actually fell open, Laney in the flesh. Tiffany, Taylor clutched her belly like it might run away. Delaney looked at the fake bump and smiled wider. Congratulations, y'all. When's the little miracle due? Bo found his voice. You shouldn't be here. Funny, Delaney said, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a single sheet of paper. Because according to this, I own the dirt you're standing on. She held it up high enough for the nearest phones to zoom. McAllister Energy, Inc., Form 4 Statement of Changes in Beneficial Ownership Reporting Owner, J-Bar Holdings, LLC Ownership, 51. 4%. The crowd went dead quiet. Then the screaming started. 10 minutes later the band stopped mid-song. 500 of Texas's richest, drunkest, and most powerful stood in a loose circle while Delaney Ray McAllister, once discarded, now unstoppable, took the stage with her twins on her hips. She didn't need a microphone. The rage in her voice carried clean to the back fence. Let me tell y'all a bedtime story, she began. She told them everything, the humiliation, the night she was thrown out with nothing but a check and a broken heart. The twins born in secret, the years of buying shares with the money they thought would silence her. And then she told them the part they didn't know. She clicked a remote, and the jumbotron behind the stage, usually used for slow-motion replays of calf roping, lit up with a single photograph. Tiffany Taylor at 7 months pregnant in a bikini on a yacht in Cabo, perfectly flat stomach, gasps. Actual gasps. Tiffany Taylor shrieked and tried to run, but the heels and the fake belly betrayed her. She went down like a sack of feed. Delaney kept talking. See, Beau can't have children. Never could. Doctors told him years before he married me, but Ginny here decided science didn't apply to McAllisters. She looked straight at Ginny, whose face had gone the color of ash. So when I turned up useless, they paid a cheerleader to stuff a pillow under a designer dress and pretend the bloodline was safe. Delaney set the boys down. Wyatt and Waylon toddled straight to Beau like they'd known him all their lives. Because they looked exactly like him, she pulled the final paper from her back pocket. DNA results, notarized, official. Meet Wyatt James and Waylon Jude McAllister, your sons, Beau, the real heirs, the only heirs. Beau dropped to his knees in the dirt and started crying like a baby. Delaney looked at Ginny one last time. You wanted a legacy so bad you built one out of lies. Well, Mammy, here's the truth. She turned to the crowd. As of 9:02 this morning, J-Bar Holdings accepted the board's recommendation to remove Beau McAllister as CEO, effective immediately. New management starts Monday. She smiled, sweet as iced tea. And I hear the cafeteria serves what a burger now. Then Delaney Ray picked up her boys, walked off that stage, and never looked back. Epilogue 1 year later, McAllister Energy is now J-Bar Energy. Headquarters moved to Austin. The old ranch sold at auction. Delaney bought it too, turned it into a camp for single moms. Ginny lives in a one-bedroom in the Villages, Florida, and hasn't been invited to the Houston Livestock Show in 2 seasons. Tiffany Taylor is a real estate agent in Frisco, selling starter homes to people who have never heard of her. And Beau, he gets supervised visitation every other weekend. He shows up early, stays late, and calls the twins sir when they tell him what to do. Delaney never married again. She dates sometimes a petroleum engineer, a country singer, a widowed rancher with kind eyes, but mostly she's too busy. She's raising 2 little oil princes who will never know what it feels like to be called useless. And every September at the new J-Bar Company barbecue, she stands on that same stage in her black resistal and tells the new hires the only company legend that matters. This empire wasn't built by blood, it was built by a woman they threw away who decided to buy the whole damn world just to prove she could. Then she fires up the mechanical bull, cranks Parker McCullum, and lets her boys ride until the stars come out over Texas.